Herbert Milano.
Good evening, Mayor Najarian, members of the City Council and City staff. My name is Herbert Milano. I come here on a regular basis on the usual topics that are close to my heart, issues about transparency, issues about equity, and issues about how the City Council manages the city budget. Primarily, I'm looking at the issues of equity, because we know that many of the programs and projects out there by nonprofits that are supporting the youth of this community and those organizations that support families at risk are going without. And in the city also we're going without facilities like aquatic facilities or improvements that are directly needed. And so I take a look at the budget to see if I see those areas of inequity. And one of my major concerns has been the lack of control on the part of the City Council when it comes to the abuse of overtime. And so when people abuse the overtime, we find salaries that exceed $100,000, sometimes $200,000 in income a year. So I decided to look at something that is smaller so that people in the audience and people at home can see how this thing seems to be institutionalized. The City of Glendale pays for college courses for some city staff, depending on the Memorandum of Understanding. So here the city paid for an art survey class, and this gentleman makes $151,000. I paid for an ethics class on someone who had an increase in salary from about $171,000 to $250,000. Here we have a music appreciation class for someone who is making between $193,000 to $250,000. Here's a class for cinema history. And so my question is, how does this benefit the taxpayer of Glendale? How does someone taking a course, let's say in Shakespeare, paid for by the city, how does it benefit the resident? Now, of course, I could say much ado about nothing, which, by the way, was part of the course. But when I take a look about these particular expenses and how these things are institutionalized, you approved it. You approved the MOU. Now, of course, these are just a few pages out of the several hundred that I actually requested. Here's what interesting that I find very interesting. This fellow who is in the public safety took a class in astronomy. Well, I mean, that would be nice, but of course, when I look at the fact that his salary went from 128 to 157, the salary is going through the stratosphere, so I figure, very applicable. Take a course in astronomy to make it more palatable. My issue is that it is your responsibility as elected officials, especially as the fact that you want to run for re-election, for us to let us know how it is that you're actually truly managing the budget, making people accountable, and have a fair distribution of the city's funds so that we can address issues about youth and families at risk. Thank you.